Tell me if you guys disagree with me when I say that through 13 weeks, there still may be a dozen teams that we don't even know if they're real or not. And we may not know who's real until the playoffs start. So here we go. Cue up another Sunday of the traveling circus. These are your picks for every game in week 14. Hey, Dave Loughren here on X at Loughy. Hit me up over there if you enjoy talking football or just watch everything here. Makes no difference to me, but I would say follow me on Tails because, well, all of my picks are free all year long. And of course, you don't have to pay for them. Not only that, all of the ladders and all of the parlays and all of the fun stuff that you'll never see here on this channel can only find there. Links in the description. More on that later. But we got the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers to talk about as we kick off this slate. Now, you have 4 teams on a week 14 bye. This is the last week that any teams are on a bye. So then we're going to get into these weeks where you got a ton of games, and then it all ends with week 18. Total disaster that typically is, where we don't even know who's playing. But we do know that with the Ravens and the Steelers, well, we saw what happened with the Ravens on Thanksgiving. Brutal game, right? I mean, brutal game. And for those of you who tailed me and were riding with me on that Isaiah Likely 50+ and touchdown parlay, what a terrible way to close out Thanksgiving. Am I wrong? I mean, just hold the ball for 1 more inch. Whatever. That's going to be a tough one to let go. But besides the point, you look at this Ravens team and you say, they turned the ball over 5 times in that game. And Cincinnati's defense, we'll talk about them shortly, actually looked okay. They were getting pressure. They were bringing some blitzes that were getting to Lamar Jackson and really kind of like he was frazzled at times, it almost appeared. But likely should have been a touchdown. Zay Flowers on that phantom offensive pass interference call. There was some weird stuff that happened in that game, no doubt. But I don't want to take away from the fact that this is a divisional spot, right? And these are 2 teams in the AFC North right now that are tied for first place in the standings. The Steelers have not played good football, but when you put these games in division, I really tend to throw a lot out the window. That's the truth. I tend to throw a lot of what we've seen in recent weeks out the window. Now, you could say the same thing for the Ravens, although that was a divisional game last week, but does my point not stand, right? Everyone, you go into that game and you're like, all right, Ravens sizable favorites. They should bounce back from a couple weird games against the Jets and the Browns. Should have been walkover games, and they struggled in both of those. Now they're both 6-6, and the Cincinnati Bengals won. Now the Bills took care of business against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, but, the Bills are just a better football team. Aaron Rodgers is not very good right now. They should be throwing the ball to Darnell Washington more. Did you guys watch that game? Tre'Davious White made a business decision and said, you know what, fella, the floor is yours. He rolled out the red carpet, put his hands like this, and let him go by. He wanted nothing to do with that. But you're getting it is a 6-point spread, divisional spot. I look at this game and can't help but think that I'm probably just going Steelers here as 6-point dogs, because Lamar Jackson, since returning from these injuries, now I'm recording this on Thursday afternoon. He didn't even practice on Thursday, but he's had a weird practice schedule. My assumption is that he ends up playing. He should. Weather's not terrible there. It's cold in some other games, but 43 degrees. It is what it is. I look at this and say it's a divisional spot. Both teams 6-6. The defense shows up for Pittsburgh, and we have ourselves a battle on our hands. I'll take Pittsburgh +6 here, especially because I haven't seen anything out of Baltimore lately that suggests that this offense can fire on all cylinders and pull away with the game right now. Bucks hosting the Saints. Bucks are 8.5-point favorites here. I mean, what do you make of this, right? Bucky Irving's back. I think that's great. I actually already posted a Bucky Irving prop over there on Tails. I try and post a bunch of these props early for you guys. So when we're getting closing line value, we get a significant amount. And you can click tail, add it straight into your bet slip, so you don't have to find anything yourself. It's a simple process. Link's down there. You'll love it. I think a lot of you guys are on there already, and I hope you are. But in this spot, I like the props more than I like the game itself. Mike Evans' 21-day practice window was open. We don't know if Kamara is going to be back, but does it really matter between him and Devin Neal right now? Let's just be honest. I do think the return of Bucky Irving after a 2-month hiatus makes a big difference. Keep an eye on Tristan Wirfs. That's a big one. He missed Wednesday and Thursday's practice with an oblique injury. If he's not out there, that certainly doesn't help. But Chris Godwin showed some spark last week. They only put up 20 points, and Baker Mayfield's dealing with an AC sprain in his shoulder. But I do think this is a pretty good spot for the Bucs. And the Saints have managed to keep games relatively close at times. This game being in Tampa Bay, Tyler Shuck on the other side. Look, I have a lot of respect for Chris Olave, but it comes down to the point where even though this is a divisional spot, one team's playing for something, the other team's playing for nothing outside of the basement of the NFC South. I'd lean Bucks here, but way more of a prop game for me, simply because once you get up to this 8.5 point number, you see it far too often where they dominate the entire game, right? And to say they're up by like 16 or 15 points or 14 points, and it's not even close. And then the Saints get a garbage time touchdown at the end to backdoor it. Like, I just typically stay away from these spots unless it's one that I really love. So we'll lean Bucks and keep this one moving. Bengals at the Bills. Bills 5.5 point favorites. Look, has there been any team, truthfully, and you guys let me know in the comments. You know I try and read and respond to all of them. I appreciate all of the comments because it keeps the wheels moving here on the Odd Shopper channel. Has there been any team as inconsistent as the Bills this year? I mean, maybe the Eagles, possibly the Eagles. And as an Eagles fan, I can definitely say that they've been all over the map. But I mean, look, you get a win against the Steelers last week for the Bills. I watched the entirety of that game. The offense was anything but electric. It was the defense that was stout. You know what I mean? And just really making the day tough for Aaron Rodgers. But Josh Allen didn't have to do much. Just don't mess up. He did throw an interception. He rushed for a touchdown. He threw for one. He had an interception. Threw for 123 yards, though. Like, it wasn't a great game. James Cook is a great back, but they simply don't have enough weapons to where week in and week out they look great. That isn't to say that they can't, put it to the Bengals this week, but I do think we've seen some market improvements in the Bengals defense. And I don't just say that because of last week and some of the self-inflicted wounds from the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Bengals are better than they were earlier in the season. And I'll tell you why, because you can't get any worse than they were earlier in the season. And Joe Burrow's return makes a really big difference here. Yes, Joe Flacco had some impressive games, no doubt about it. But the fact that you've got Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins is progressing through protocol. It looks like he has a good shot of playing this week. I'll tell you what, when you talk about Buffalo, there is no team against a good offense, right? Like the Bengals have now with Joe Burrow, who didn't look all that worse for wear and should be even better this week, that I want to lay this many points on. Now, it's not a ton of points, a touchdown win and they cover. But look, they lost to Houston, didn't put up 20 points. They smoked Tampa Bay the week before that. They lost in Miami by 17, got routed by the Miami Dolphins, who were left for dead. They had beat Carolina by 31, beat the Chiefs in that big game, lost to Atlanta in Atlanta, right? Like, lost to New England on Sunday night in Buffalo. Very weird Bills team right now. And I think this game stays competitive. I think a lot of people are going to like the Bills in this spot. And I like Josh Allen in this spot. But if there's a team that can keep pace, it is a Joe Burrow-led Bengals offense. And do you remember, heck, can I say this on YouTube, that killing spree Joe Burrow went on? Metaphorically speaking, of course, last year when they were making a push for the playoffs, nobody should have wanted to face the Bengals, even with that bad defense. And I feel similarly right now, even though they're well on the outside looking in. Give me Bengals plus 5.5. Kind of a fun game. Seahawks at the Falcons. All right. Seahawks are 7-point favorites. I don't really know what I want to do here, and I probably won't bet it. The Falcons have truly been the most difficult team to bet all season long. Now, we did bet the Jets last week, and that played out well for us because why not? Why would the Falcons be favored on the road at this point with Kirk Cousins, without Drake London, against, honestly, almost anybody, right? There are very few teams that I think the Falcons should be favored over on the road. Maybe the Titans, but how many other teams? Probably the Saints, but not really the Jets. And with Tyrod Taylor in there, they haven't even been that bad. Truthfully, they haven't been that bad. I still don't think that Drake London's going to play here. I just don't. The Falcons are a tough team. It's 7-point dogs. I'd probably lean Seattle just because Atlanta's defense is, look, they're subpar. They're below average. Their offense with Kirk Cousins is below average. Bijan Robinson is fantastic, but if you can limit him, there's just simply no way that you can lean on Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, and Kyle Pitts. I don't see that being the case against an elite Seattle defense. I mean, poor Max Brosmer last week with 4 interceptions and just downright awful game, to the point where if Justin Jefferson thought things were bad before with JJ McCarthy, how you feeling now, partner? Not great. I'll lean Seattle -7 just because I think they are markedly better than the Falcons. But that does not disqualify the point that the Falcons come in and have weird games from time to time. And it's a team that, unless they're favored on the road against the Jets, that I don't have a good feel for. So we'll lean Seattle. And like I said, Atlanta beat Buffalo earlier in the year, but that was also with Michael Penix Jr. and not Kirk Cousins. Lean Seattle and move on to the Colts and the Jaguars. The Colts are 1.5-point favorites. They've now lost 3 of their last 4 games. The only game they've won, as a matter of fact, over their last 4 was that, I think, Germany game. It was an overseas game, but I think it was the Germany game against Atlanta, and Atlanta took them to overtime, right? Bijan Robinson, and actually it was the Jonathan Taylor game, but they took them to OT, and they ended up winning in overtime on that big Jonathan Taylor touchdown, I believe. Aside from that, they lost in Pittsburgh to the Steelers. They lost to the Chiefs in Kansas City, but that game went to overtime as well. They lost by 4 last week to Houston, and Houston's defense is just unbelievably good right now. I mean, I'm not buying into the Jaguars yet. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this Jaguars team, because as it currently stands, they are sitting atop the AFC South alongside the Colts, both of them at 8-4. The Texans are 1 game back at 7-5. So after this game, one team is going to have sole possession of the AFC South. And if the Texans win over the Chiefs and move to 8-5, they'll be tied with whoever loses this game, barring the tiebreakers, right? But the way I see it is, I like the Colts for a little bit of a bounce back here. I know that Daniel Jones is playing with that broken fibula, not great. But all in all, pound for pound, and Sauce Gardner's out as well. They still have Charvarius Ward. All in all, I think this is a better team. They're laying 1.5 on the road in a divisional spot, so essentially just win. This is a spot where I will go back to the Colts here. It's a rough stretch. I think public sentiment is kind of waning on them a little bit right now. I'm not convinced that it's necessarily that the Colts are bad. I think it's that maybe the Colts looked better than we thought they were earlier in the year, because they faced Miami, Tennessee, the Raiders, Arizona, right? Now, they did get a convincing win over the Chargers. They beat Denver. They beat the Rams, they lost to the Rams, but could have beat them had Adonai Mitchell not fumbled at the goal line and Jonathan Taylor's touchdown not gotten called back on an Adonai Mitchell hold. But you get my point. They face Houston, Kansas City, Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. I do think that's a tough stretch. I like them to get back on track here. -1.5. I just buy into them more than I buy into the Jags. Let's talk about the Titans and Browns. This is one that I posted on Tails earlier in the week with a better number. Not moved a ton. We got the Browns at -4. They're -4.5 now. There are some books out there, I tell you all the time, like Bet365. Like, I posted a ladder play at +600 for Thursday Night Football on Bet365 at 70 yards for Jahmyr Gibbs. I assume it didn't hit because it's 6-1. I'm recording this before this won't come out until after the game's over. Point is, I grabbed it because of the value on Bet365. It was simply the value. FanDuel had it at +420. DraftKings had it at +390 for 70 yards. So you're telling me that there's a 14% implied chance on Bet365. Essentially, you'd have to win that bet 14% of the time to break even. I think Jahmyr Gibbs can do that well more than 14% of the time with no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no Sam Laporta. Point being on all of that is that make sure you're shopping the odds on all of these bets. And as always, Bet365, link down there below. You get 200 in bonus bets when you bet 10 or deposit 10 and bet 5. It's the best alt numbers you're ever going to find. They're always on Bet365. 21 years or older to gamble. Gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll have some more of that. And we're going to be targeting a lot of these spots where we're looking for the best number. And the best number comes in handy, man. I'm telling you, whether you're getting a spot at -2.5 to -3, what a difference that makes. Even 3 to 3.5 at times, right? Even if you push, like over the course of a season, that's a huge difference. And I say that because the Browns are -4.5 now. You're not moving through a key number, so it's not a huge deal. I mean, a 21-17 game makes a difference, and you'd push the 4, lose the 4.5. I'd still go Browns here. I know they lost last week, But San Francisco in a super weird game, heavy winds. Shedeur Sanders isn't good, but neither is Cam Ward. And really, the Browns have feasted in these type of matchups this season, have they not? Like when the Browns get a matchup against a team like this, it feels like they kind of just salivate, go out there and dominate. Against the Raiders in Las Vegas, 24-10. Geno Smith got sacked 10 times. They didn't have a chance. They lost to the Jets in New York or New Jersey. But let's be real. 2 of those were back-to-back special teams return touchdowns. Aside from that, they allowed essentially nothing out of the Jets offense, right? Against Miami and Cleveland, they won 31-6. They've had these type of games, man, where they just come in against bad teams and beat the piss out of them. Even when Green Bay came to Cleveland, they beat them 13-10. They lost to Cincinnati with Burrow 17-16 and should have won that game. So as long as they're at home, as long as Myles Garrett is on that defensive line, and as long as Cam Ward is on the other side of this game, give me the Browns here at -4.5. Dolphins at the Jets. You know what we have to do. You guys on board, or are you going Dolphins? Because you already know what I'm doing here, right? Don't look now, but the Jets have won, 3 of their last 5? After starting the season, I think 0-7. Hey, this is a team that is not great. They're super undisciplined at times, but there are pieces. That's fair to say, right? They still have some pieces. It's not all bad for the New York Jets, and we've seen that in recent games. We saw a big win last week. The veteran Nick Folk getting a 50-plus yard field goal in poor weather to win that game. This is a team that is bad, but can still win games against other teams that aren't good, right? They beat Cleveland. They beat the Atlanta. They beat, Cincinnati, 39-38. That was an insane game. In a spot like this, I'll take the Jets at +2.5. If you can find the 3 out there, that would be great. But I do think Tyrod Taylor is the type of guy that he's not a guy that you want as your starter next year, but he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He's not afraid to run, right? 44 rushing yards last game, was pretty instrumental in picking up some big plays there. And then at the end of the day, Miami, outside of Miami, on a cold day in New Jersey. And I by the way, I don't buy the narrative that Tua Tagovailoa can't play in cold weather, because it's not actually true. He's had plenty of decent cold weather games, but you're looking at rain, possibly with 35-degree temperatures. I just kind of like the way this game sets up for the New York Jets at home, +2.5. Not going to bet the money line here, but I don't buy into the Dolphins, despite them playing better football lately. Commanders at the Vikings. All right, what do we do here? Look, I'll keep this very quick. The Vikings are -2.5. J.J. McCarthy's expected back. They told him he had a concussion, and now they're telling him he doesn't have a concussion because of how bad Max Brosman was. At this point, I think they're telling him, hey, you're hurt, you're not hurt. You're sick, you're not sick. You have a concussion, you don't. Who knows at this point, man? But the Vikings are 2.5-point favorites at home. Jaden Daniels is getting limited practice reps in. Well, he's getting work. He's still limited. Talking about a dislocated elbow. Honestly, I don't know whether or not he played. I'd want to play him or not. This to me just feels kind of like a game where if JJ McCarthy just doesn't make any mistakes, the Minnesota defense should be able to do enough. Like, that's the crazy thing about it. It's still a good Brian Flores defense, right? But you can't have your quarterback throwing 3-4 interceptions a game. Like, okay, they gave up. Sam Darnold threw for 90 yards last week or whatever it was. They had 125 rushing yards. It's not even like the defense was bad. And they got beat 26-0, 23-6 the game before that. They allowed under 300 total yards of offense. This is just a recurring theme with this team every single week. So if it's Marcus Mariota or Jaden Daniels, I'd lean Vikings -2.5 here and hope that the defense can stand up. But full disclosure, I cannot get a good read on my Minnesota. I'm not betting this game because I keep thinking the defense can get it done, and then their quarterback finds a way to put them in terrible situations every week to where even if the defense does overperform to keep them in a game, they can't stand up for 60 minutes because they're constantly in terrible field position. So lean Vikings here, but I have no real feel for this one. Broncos 7.5 points against the Raiders. Can we talk about this for a second? Because I assume most of you guys are going into this game saying, you know what? How do we not love the Broncos here? I kind of get it. I mean, they faced Las Vegas on Thursday night 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was a 10-7 game. Raiders easily covered the spread. What's funny about the Broncos, right? And I mean, Geno Smith and company, this team's bad. Patrick Surtain's back for Denver. All of that stuff points in the direction of the Broncos. But how have they won games this year, right? Like, do they come from behind every damn week? Seriously, not every week, but they beat the Washington Commanders by 1 point in overtime because Dan Quinn went for 2. They beat the Chiefs by 3. They beat the Raiders by 3 as big favorites. They beat Houston by 3. They beat Dallas pretty good. They beat the Giants by 1 on a crazy fourth quarter. They beat the Jets in London by 2, 13-11. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles by 4 in a big come-from-behind win in the fourth quarter. They smoked Cincinnati, or no surprise there. I think that was actually a Jake Browning game. They lost by 3 to the Chargers. They lost by 1 to the Colts, and they beat the Titans, the terrible Titans, by 8. So, like, every one of their wins is a one-score game outside of 2 of them. At home for the Raiders, yeah, if I'm betting this outside of a touchdown, with the way this Broncos team has played close games and played down the competition in many games this season, you're damn right. I would lean the Las Vegas Raiders here. As gross as it sounds, I probably would in a divisional spot. I know it's nasty, but the Broncos have failed to cover in so many games this season where they should have. And it's not only that, like, they have won outright in games where they've been dogs. So let's give them credit there. No doubt about it. But they just haven't put together a full 4 quarters of offense in like all but 2 games. And to me, that's concerning. That is concerning. So Raiders outside of 7 if I bet it. Otherwise, I may just stay away from this one. Rams at the Cardinals. Rams 7.5 point favorites. I feel like the Rams bounce back in a big way this week. I really do. You know, the Jacoby Brissett, if you're a DFS player like myself, my first love, if you follow us over on the Stochastic channel, you know, this guy has won people millions of dollars recently. No joke. There's something called a Millie Maker, a Millionaire Maker, over on DraftKings, where first place is $1 million each Sunday. Jacoby Brissett, and I think 2 of the last 4 weeks, or 2 of the last 3 weeks, has been the quarterback in the lineup of whoever won the Millie. So it is really remarkable that they're losing every game he plays outside of that Dallas spot, and he still goes out there and puts up 300 plus yards and respectable performance. But they do keep losing, and let's be honest about that. They got killed by San Francisco in division. They got killed by Seattle in division. And now you've got the Rams coming off of a loss where they were double-digit favorites against the Panthers. I think this is the type of spot where they come out and they just beat the brakes off of them. I really do. If not, well, I said it here, and you can come and tell me I'm wrong. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. with the heel injury is going to play. He didn't practice today on Thursday as I record this. And eventually, you just fully run out of steam if you're a team like the Arizona Cardinals going up against what all season has been a meticulous, efficient juggernaut offense in LA with Adams, who's essentially a goal line back at this point, Puka Nacua, Kyron and Blake Corum in that 2-headed backfield. It's a spot that I simply would not be able to take the Cardinals here. I know it's a divisional spot, but Brissett and company have gotten killed in these spots this year, especially of late. Give me the Rams -7.5 on the road. Bears at the Packers. Oh, man. All right. So Bears and the Packers, divisional game, 14 degrees at Lambeau Field. Now, the thing about the Bears is they have run blocked really well this season. Can the run blocking hold up? I do a show every Wednesday with my friend Andy Francis. Check his channel out if you like betting. He's good. You will enjoy it. And he was talking about, because we were going back and forth, and this wasn't even a disagreement on my part, but more just like devil's advocate, because he likes the Packers here. And I get it. I'd lean Packers -6.5. The question for me becomes, can the Bears continue to run block as well as they have this season, and especially of late? You know, Jalen Carter's out now, and it turns out he's got 2 bad shoulders, so maybe that had something to do with it last week. But they still had 200-plus yard rushers against the Eagles in Philly on Black Friday in a nationally televised game. I mean, come on. They're doing a good job. But Caleb Williams, I mean, the guy's completed 58% of passes this year. You're going up against a very stout Packers defense in not bad, but cold weather. Now, they play in cold weather in Chicago too, so I wouldn't say that's too much of a knock. But the question then becomes, do we get the Jordan Love of last week? 4 touchdowns on the road in a dome against the Lions in a huge game? I would lean the Packers here because I think overall they are more real than the Bears. Now, I'm sure some of you Bears fans, and don't take this as an insult, if they end up winning the Super Bowl, you can come back and tell me I'm an idiot. We'll not take, we'll have some type of grievance with this, and that's fair. You're a Bears fan, your team's playing well right now. I don't blame you for it. They're 9-3, atop the NFC. I'm not fully buying this team right now. They have had a ton of turnovers. Turnovers are unpredictable. They're actually very volatile. And last week, Jalen Hurts was his own worst enemy and missed a ton of passes that could have kept that game close. This game at Lambeau, big game, big game. Yeah, I'd lean Packers -6.5 here. But the one real problem for them could be if the Bears are able to sustain long drives with this run game. The truth is, though, the Packers have not allowed any team to run on them, including Jahmyr Gibbs last week against the Lions. Texans at the Chiefs. All right, give me the Texans +3.5. Why the hell not? This defense is just so good right now that they keep them competitive in every single game. You think that's an easy game against the Colts last week? Of course not. In Indianapolis against a Colts team that, knew that if they lose that game, there's a good chance they no longer have sole possession of the AFC South. Texans go in on the road and beat them outright. And 3.5 is tough, but I'm getting them outside of a field goal here. The Chiefs are the type of team that it was only, a month ago where everyone's like, the Chiefs are back. The Chiefs are back. And to some extent, it did look like they were back. You have Rashee Rice. You have Travis Kelce looking better. They still don't have much of a run game. You have Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, these guys coming at you. This Houston team is scary, right? This is a scary defense. Josh Allen last Thursday had nowhere to go, nowhere to run. If the defense keeps playing like this, I'll take Houston as a dog almost every week. It's kind of that simple for me. I'm not saying they win, but they don't need to win. What they can do is keep games wildly competitive, especially with the Chiefs not looking like the Chiefs right now. Give me the Texans +3.5. And finally, Monday Night Football. This one's really tough. I'll have a full video on this. Although I did place a small bet on the Eagles earlier in the week. I posted that to Tails. Again, if you want to come over there, all you got to do is use that link in the description. And then download the app once you're over there. Would highly recommend using the app as well. I post my plays from there. I tail a lot of sharp bettors. Like Edge Zone is over there now, fully transparent. They show all of their results. They're crushing this season. We've added a lot of people over there recently, and you can grab their VIP package or just grab all of the free bets that we have over there. Mine are free all season long. We're honestly building a social media platform simply for sports betting. All of the other mess and noise is gone. So if you're someone that likes that, I would highly suggest doing it. If you click that link, you can follow me, turn on notifications, and then check everyone else out in the process. But I lean Eagles here because Justin Herbert just had a plate and screws put in his left hand, and he still hasn't gripped the football at the time of me recording this. He's a warrior and plays through a lot. Him and Harbaugh both said they expect him to play, but I'm not positive he will. And he said he could play even if he doesn't practice. I get all of that. This is still one of these spots, though, where do you get even a close to 100% Herbert, or did you get the Herbert like the start of, was it last season, where he was dealing with that plantar fascia in his foot and did not look nearly himself early in the season? Now, again, I'll have a video with this, probably some same game parlay, maybe a ladder. We'll throw some fun stuff in Monday morning right here on the channel, and we'll have a lot more clarity on Herbert. Jalen Carter is now out, so that kind of sucks. But the Eagles being -2.5 here, getting them outside of a field goal, the big thing, or inside of a field goal, most people probably look at last week and go, how the hell could you bet the Eagles? Well, the Herbert injury to me is significant, but also when you're coming off of an ugly loss like that and the public sentiment is fully down, that is when I think it's the time to bet teams who are proven Super Bowl winners that can piece the puzzle back together. Let me know where you're at on that one and the rest of these. Everyone on Tails can comment now, by the way. We open comments up so we can take the conversation away from here and bring it over to Tails. So come say hi. Let me know what bets you're on in the comments over there, and I will catch you back here Monday for that Eagles-Chargers game. Bye-bye.